uh, because he was cheated, the election, he keeps talking about it, and he was not reelected. And how does Comar or this radio man know anything about it? He doesn't. He doesn't have any of the facts whatsoever. That's the point I'm trying to make in this country. They all run their mouth, and they don't know what they're talking about.
Sure.
And another thing is, you were
One
talking.
question, one question.
Oh, one question.
Trust me,
Okay.
give me one. That's enough. We don't
Okay.
have that. We can say one question. Give me not one question. Go ahead, Supervisor.
You know who the people that are supposed to hold the politicians to account is the voters. And the voters really don't do much research. Most voters decide who they're going to vote for. Either uh, half of them, I think they're doing it at the poll when they're voting, but they'll look at campaign commercials and make their decision based on that. And generally, they'll take an acorn of truth and spin it into an oak tree of political spin to make whatever you did look like something else or to make themselves look better. And people need to dig a little bit deeper. There's groups that rate members of the legislature. There's groups that rate congressmen. And you need to take a look at that. And they'll rate them on, they're all biased because if, say, it's the Chamber of Commerce, the U.S. Chamber, they're going to rate them on how did they do on the position of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And you got Heritage that rates people on what Heritage thinks is right. But you need to take a look at that stuff and see how people are really voting, because you got no idea. The local press doesn't tell you what goes on in Congress at all. So you have no idea what our congressman voted for and what he voted against, unless he tells you about it. But they don't do a very good job of covering that, and the people don't really do a good job of paying attention. And that's the problem, and that's why you want people push for term limits, is because you just want to term that guy out because the voters don't pay enough attention to do it themselves. And if people would pay attention, you wouldn't need term limits. If you go back to 2010 when they had the Tea Party go on, you saw a lot of congressmen got turned out of office because people were paying attention and they were mad at what they had done. But it takes an event like that for them to actually pay attention. And you should be paying attention all the time. And you're going to have votes that your elected official votes on that you don't like, and you're going to have stuff that you do, and you end up weighing the good against the bad, but you should at least know what the good and what the bad is so you can weigh properly. But a lot of it falls on the voters for just not paying attention. They don't read citizens initiatives, but yet they're mad at Congress when Congress doesn't read bills. So it's a two-way street, but you need informed voters. And I don't think we will probably never have another generation of informed voters because we got kids that don't even understand the
You
Constitution.
don't even know how to read now. That's the problem.
Right.
By the way, that's why I always like to, invite people to look into organizations. For example, for the Second Amendment, the Arizona Citizens Defense
Sure.
League, they really try to inform the bills in that topic. Even like the JBS.
And they're actually the ones that push pro-gun bills in the legislature more so than the National Rifle Association. How it worked, because I was the legislator of the year with the Citizens Defense League when I was judiciary chairman, because we were passing bills that expanded your gun rights.
Yeah.
And how it would work is if NRA saw something that they were doing, NRA would come in and help and claim that's an NRA endorsed bill and whatnot. And it helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it was the guys with the Citizens Defense League that were actually pushing back the envelope.
I remember when you were a senator, by the way, that was under the situation with the McCain ordeal.
Yeah.
I remember that what happened in 90 days. You and of course other senators, and at the time was Russell Pierce, I guess it was the Speaker of the Senate, because we show you guys what they were doing in Mojave County when they were doing gun registrations. They wanted to bring the gun in the box. That's fine, was the law, but the extra step that the county manager wanted from us to get the serial number of each gun and keep him in some sort of a room up there. And we show you the video and I say, this is gun registration. And it was exactly black and white at the time. And you guys in 3 months, boom, the governor.
We took care of that one.
That was nice.
Because that was de facto gun registration.
Yeah.
People don't realize that we don't have gun registration in the United States. If a weapon is involved in a crime and the police come upon the weapon, they take the serial number. If it's a Smith & Wesson, they go to Smith & Wesson and go, who did you wholesale this gun to? Well, then they go to the wholesaler, and then they go to the retailer, then they go to the guy that bought it at the gun shop. they have no way of connecting. If I show you my gun, they have no way to connect that gun to me, because we don't have gun registration intentionally, because we don't want people marching around kicking in doors and taking your guns.
And now the county, at the time, the county, they were really truly doing it. And the point I'm trying to do is this: it was let's say um, a common effort. They did their job, but somebody on our end had to do our job. If we were just saying, okay, the county just want to do some paperwork and you go back home because dinner is late, that was never going to happen.
That was an awful video too, because
Yeah.
it's a loaded gun and the security guy is
Yeah.
flipping this thing over every which way. He's got the barrel pointing every which way because he's looking for the serial number on the thing. And you're horrified at the lack of gun safety going
Yeah.
on. And that's really why you don't want people to disarm people anyway.
Yeah.
You know, my wife and I and my grandson, who was probably 3 at the time, were coming back from Phoenix on Highway 93. So I get pulled over by the DPS,
Mhm.
and I'm convinced they have a quota of people they have to pull over on
Yeah.
93.
Mhm.
So I get pulled over. She wants to know if I'm armed, and I said, "Yeah, I am." I got a gun in my waistband, in my holster on my waist. She goes, "Oh, can you hand that to me?"
Good.
So
Yeah.
I have to hand my loaded gun across my wife because the officer
Wow.
is standing in the passenger window. I
Wow.
have to hand that gun to the officer. And then she says, "Do you have any more guns?" And I thought about it. I go, "Well, yeah, I got my gun my pistol that's under the seat."
Oh God.
So I take that pistol out, and I got to hand it's a tourist judge, and I got to hand that one across my wife
Wow.
also to the officer. And then she goes, "Is that it?" And I go, "Yeah." And she walks away, and my wife goes, "I still got my gun in my purse." I go, "Let's just not bring that up." And so she comes back, and I said, "Did you run the serial numbers record those serial numbers on my guns?" And she says, "I did not, but I don't know what dispatch did." And I said, "Well, if dispatch wrote those numbers down with my name,"
Wow.
I said, you just violated my Second Amendment rights, and that's de facto gun control, gun registration." And so she goes into well, if you want to argue about it, we can. And I go, "No, I don't want to argue about it," because she never wrote me a ticket anyway, because all she's trying to do is see if I'm drunk.
Wow.
You know, it was probably a slow day for drunks on 93.
So, and when was that? I'm curious. Was after the state law that you guys somehow legislated?
I was out of office at the time, so
Okay.
I didn't.
Interesting.
Came out of the state senate in 13.
So that was after the laws that was already effective that we had no gun registration in the state, right?
Yeah, we never had gun registration.
No, I know,
Oh,
but no, my point that was
Sure.
really black and white that
Right.
no state agency
Right.
can do it as kind of a registration or kind of a tracking like that. you know?
Right. And essentially
Yeah.
what they do when they got your name because they have your driver's license, and then they have a serial number for a gun,
Mhm.
they've effectively registered that gun to me.
Exactly. They need to dispose it. They need to
Right.
do it. Like, for
Right.
example, remember after the law was passed, the MVD here, 6 months later, I walked in and I wanted just to do some of my business, and there is a checkbox, and that's fine. But they forgot that there was the new law, and they wanted me to put the serial number on the little fancy book notes with my gun type. I said, "Sorry, guys, but maybe you're not aware, but this is against the law." And the point is, you don't want to argue with them. But then I sent the video, because I always go around with my video camera,
Uh-huh.
of this idiot. I'm sorry, he's an idiot, an arrogant person from the MVD that he knew everything about the law. And I sent the video to you and also at the time, Senator Russell Pierce. And I got an email back, I think also from you, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
and Russell Pierce too. And I say, "Sorry about that, but more important, the ADOT will be sorry about that." And they called me a few days later, say, "We are very sorry, we were wrong." Because what they were trying to do, ignoring your legislation,
Mhm.
and they were trying to rewrite their own laws.
Right.
It's bureaucracy. Now you come up to my office, you need to register the gun. We just had an argument about that 6 months ago, and the law was passed.
Right. And that's why laws have to be clear.
Yeah.
You know, I was complaining about they're trying to get us to adopt the new building code.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some stuff that's just not clear.
Yeah.
And the problem, if you're not clear with bureaucrats, they try to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
About gosh, must have been a decade ago. They came up with their scheme to register off-highway vehicles.
Yes, they did.
And because before that, Arizona never did that. So they've got all these various different reasons why they wanted to do that. And I never wanted to do it, and I never voted for it. And if they finally were able to sneak it through, I'd always threatened to filibuster it. And one day that I wasn't down there, they decided to
Nancy.
use my own trick on me. But
Yeah,
um,
I think Nancy did it at the time. She was behind.
but
it.
the gosh, where was I going with that?
Well, the point that the government will always try to take your rights every
right
time they
back
can.
to the bureaucrats.
Yeah.
So they took a law, and essentially all this law said was that it was $18 to register your off-highway vehicle.
Yep.
And so MVD gets a hold of it, and they create like a 2-tiered system. And were you primarily driving on the road with or you primarily driving off road with a little road? And if you do it this way, it's $18, but if you do it this way, it's $185.
There we go.
And round and around. But the biggest reason they told us that they were doing that was so that we could reciprocate with other states, because one of the legislators liked to hunt in Utah.
Yeah.
He liked to take his UTV. Utah had a licensing scheme, but we didn't. So he had to buy a Utah off-highway permit.
Buy it. Yeah,
So we create this big system because this guy he wants to be reciprocal.
Wow.
And then a few years ago, they just did away with the reciprocal. So if you're from another state, you still have to buy an Arizona off-highway permit.
And that doesn't go away. That's
right.
It's going to be
so
more.
that's
and more.
why you want stuff to be made clear.
Yeah.
One, you want laws should not be complex. We're asking the public to follow a law. It shouldn't. A law should not require you to hire an attorney to sort the law out for you. You know, the other seat in my pickup's for my wife or my kids. It's not for my attorney.
Yeah. Exactly. Supervisor Gould, before we end, we're almost at the end. We have 3 more minutes. What is plans for the future? I mean, you are now, how many more years do you have as a county supervisor?
I just got reelected in November.
Okay.
Nobody ran against me.
So you had 4 more
So I
years.
get 4 more years.
Okay.
And then I'll figure out what we're
And
gonna
then
do
we'll
after
see
that.
from there. 4
Yeah.
more years. You know, I hope we
I'll
still have
be
a country.
64 by then. So
I hope
we'll see.
I hope we're still going to be in America, because if things don't change, I'm concerned really about the next 6 months.
They can pass all the laws they want in Washington, but they're going to have to find people to enforce them.
I mean,
I think they're going to have a hard time enforcing totalitarian laws out in the hinterlands, to tell you the truth.
that's true, but at the same time, we can be starved out and economically completely so depressed. And that's my fear. They're stupid. They are not that stupid. They know that they cannot come and break down everybody's home or everybody's doors. But when they're going to put this country in such a level of poverty that the only source of economy is going to be the federal government.
Right. You'll be waiting on your check,
Yeah.
and you'll be willing to
Yeah.
lick the chains that feed
Hey,
you.
if you want to make your money, give me your rifle. Hey, if you want to make your money, take that vaccine. If you want to make some living, you got to pretty much do what I say. And that's going to
Yeah, the vaccine passport thing is spooky too, to
Yeah.
tell you the truth. I tried to get I didn't vote for any of that COVID garbage at the
I know
at the
that.
state level.
That's great.
Or the county level. But I tried to get them, if they were going to take the money that or administer a vaccine program,
Mhm.
that if it came to the point where half the retailers required that you have some kind of a vaccine passport to go into their facility, that the county would then cease vaccinating people. Wow. Couldn't get any support. Died for lack of a second. It was disappointing.
Wow. All right. Listen, at this point, unless anybody else has a straight question, we have 2 minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to just remind one thing. Okay, the question is here. Please say your name.
I'm Tony Johnson. And real quick question, how do you get a speed limit changed? We have an issue in Golden Valley. The speed limit's just outrageous there, and we've got accidents all the time, fatality accidents, bad ones. So I just wonder how you go about that.
Is it the state highway or a county road?
68. Yeah. I don't know.
It's a state highway. Transportation is
Thank you.
split between the local government or county government, city government, county government, state government, and the federal government. So, which makes it worse, but at least the federal government funds federal highways to the state, to Arizona Department of Transportation. So at least that's the person that you deal with. That's a state highway. There's a transportation committee that meets periodically. And actually, up until recently, Sam Elters, we hired to be the county manager, was on the state transportation committee. But they have meetings around the state. There's Alvin Stump is the ADOT representative for Northern Arizona, and you can give his office a call I can give you the contact information, or my office can, and let them know what you think about that. If it's a county road, the county has a transportation committee that meets quarterly, and if you have a problem, we can put it in front of the county transportation committee, and they'll take a look at it and see. They've got a book, just like every other branch of government has a book. So they've got all the road rules in that, and they stick with that unless you can show them that this is an unusual case and we want to do something different.
Thank you very much, Tony. Thank you for your question. And by the way, this is the spirit of the show, to have an interaction with our people that represent us. And I would like to have, by the way, here also, and I will make an exception. I said this place is not welcome to people who voted for Biden, okay? And it's true, unless you show repentment. But if you are, let's say, straight enough to come here and to have a kind of a logical and civil conversation and defending your points on what this man is doing at the White House, I will give you also a free bag of coffee, Zana coffee. If you voted for Biden and you want to come here with a special pass, I will give you a special privilege pass. Yes, here I'm the Pope. I tell you who comes, who doesn't come. And if you come here because you want to defend your man or your woman, in case it was Michelle, I would say your man, but in this case is Kamala, I think she's a woman. That's another story. I will accept you here. I will give you free Zana coffee. By the way, this is the spirit of the free market. Please support the show. Go to www.zanacoffee.com. More important, if you want to become part of our Temple of Freedom, go to socialcontactclub.com, where freedom is our belief and we accept donations. And yes, we have a membership. But guess what? You got to pass the test first. We'll have a few questions. If you fail the questions, you will be not even allowed to put a foot on the Temple of Freedom. Simple as that. Thank you, Supervisor Gould. We really appreciate you to be here. Okay?
Thanks for having me, Luca.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for all of you guys and ladies. And at that point, God's willing, I'll talk to you next Sunday. Thank you.